Well, I bored everybody to tears with my chestnut video, so hey, when you're on a roll, I decided what better subject than this time of the year than walnuts. Let's talk a little bit about walnuts right now. So for me, the story starts with the Franquette walnut, which comes from France, discovered as a select seedling somewhere around 1786 in one of the French provinces, and brought to the United States in the 1870s by Felix Gillette up in Nevada City. And he brings the Franquette in 1870, and then by the early, say, 1900s, it's one of the most popular varieties sold. So Felix Gillette brings in a lot of different varieties of nuts and stone fruit in the 1870s. His nursery in Nevada City becomes a very, very popular source for many different introductions during that time period. So in Nevada City, of course, you're up in the Sierras, so you definitely get a lot of snow and late freezes, and so they needed late blooming up in that area, and Franquette definitely was a late blooming variety, so it made it better adapted to the Northern California climate in general, as a matter of fact. You know, it's a hard-shelled variety too, so it wasn't going to get any diseases. Not a big nut, you know, in comparison to the modern-day walnuts. They're pretty small, you know, when you look at them in comparison to, say, you know, the modern-day Chandler. For me, you know, it would be all about the flavor. I definitely have always found that the Franquette was one of the better tasting varieties. And the other thing to it, it halves pretty easily as well. I think that's another important thing that people have determined in choosing walnut varieties, is because it has such low tannic acid, it really just brings out the great walnut flavor. And I think it's one of the better tasting varieties. But I'll tell you what, it's hooked to every variety of walnut, it seems like, that's come since then. So let's go talk about a couple more different types of walnuts as well. So this next variety, the Hartley, actually came out of a cross between the Franquette and the Mayette, which are two varieties that Felix Gillette actually imported from France. And so it was planted out in around 1892 in a test orchard in Napa Valley. And that test orchard was eventually purchased by a gentleman named John Hartley, I think in around 1909, as the story goes. John Hartley began planting seedlings from this Franquette Mayette cross. By 1915, he realized he had something, and actually entered it in the World Exposition in 1915 and got a blue ribbon. So I guess at the 1915 Pan Pacific Exposition in San Francisco, Mr. John Hartley did pretty well with the Hartley walnut, and rightly so, because if Franquette was the number one planted at the time, the Hartley was a lot bigger. Boy, oh boy! So immediately, I'm sure it made a big statement in size. It was a higher quality flavor as well, and though it is delicious, it's a great nut. I really think that the Franquette, I don't know, just a little bit more to my taste. But I'll tell you what, that doesn't take away from the good flavor of the Hartley. Hartley then becomes one of the number one walnuts and pushes the Franquette completely out of popularity and stays the number one walnut for the next 50 years. So definitely another light kerneled nut, very light colored kernel nut. Definitely the Hartley was prized for its flavor. Halves very, very easily, just like the Franquette, and really has that good rich flavor, just like the Franquette. So it did inherit that off of that Mayette and Franquette cross. Hartley stood the test of time for years. Franquette would be quite often planted with it because it's a pollinator for the Hartley. So Franquette didn't go away. So you know, there you go. You got the Franquette. Then we have the next progressions, the Hartley. So now let's go see what variety of walnut ended up being the showboat of walnuts for today. Yeah, then came Chandler. Boy, I'll tell you what, you don't get much better than the modern day Chandler walnut. That tends to be the one that everybody's asking for these days. So that's why you see so many in this budwood orchard. The demand is really high. Walnuts are good for you. That's why they're popular. But Chandler holds a lot of characteristics that are pretty special. So the Chandler walnuts, developed by UC Davis and introduced in 1979, named after W.H. Chandler. And the Chandler then is introduced by well-known walnut researchers Eugene Sayre and Harold Ford. But this is a cross between the Pedro and a UC variety called 56224. Yeah, the Chandler took off in popularity due to its large size. I mean, look, you know, those are just a little bit bigger than the Hartleys. Definitely cracks pretty easily. I mean, do you see that? I mean, typically I can crack them with my hands. And then that beautiful light kernel color was just a hit right off the bat. Great flavor. Great flavor. Definitely that it's now become the #1 walnut sold throughout the United States. In all walnut growing regions, Chandler is right on top. It doesn't have the intensity of a Franquette. So, you know, I wouldn't rank it in flavor up with a Franquette, but these things crack so easy. Splits out of the shell, so easy, and then you have that beautiful nut just waiting to be chomped on. I'm telling you, walnuts are great. Big tree, probably don't belong in the average yard. That can be a problem. Can you keep a walnut, you know, small? Yeah, you can. To be exact, I have pictures of walnuts that are espaliered. But, I mean, it takes a commitment. So if you're thinking about a walnut, Franquette, Hartley, Chandler, all historically impacted the industry, the walnut industry, through the history of walnuts in the United States. Each one of them carrying, you know, probably the same quality, and that is they all really taste real good.